Welcome to another episode of Indaba, the African Debate. My name is Mduduzi Brian, and thank you very much for joining me today. Today I'm joined by Notsile, and Notsile and I are going to be just talking about her life in general. Right? Notsile, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Brian. Nice to meet you.
Thank you
And
very
thank
much.
you for having me on your platform.
No problem at all. Now, tell us a bit about Notsile. Who is Notsile? For people that obviously would like to know.
Yeah. I like to keep it short, but in short, Notile is an author, a creator, a digital creator. I would like to call myself a social change agent. I like to call myself an activist.
Yeah,
But more than anything, I'm just a simple girl from a village in Swaziland.
brilliant. Thank you very much. Um, you say you're an author. I've
Yeah.
come about a couple of your books that you've written. What's the inspiration for the two books that you've written?
Okay, so I think it's crazy how I publish both books very close to each other, but they really don't have anything to do with each other in terms of storyline and inspiration. But the very first one, which is Nyeti, uh, shortly, I'm a writer. I've been writing my whole life, but mostly for my own enjoyment.
Yeah.
And then I just started feeling like, instead of always complaining that the books or the entertainment that we have doesn't really represent me, let me just create what represents me.
Yeah.
So Nyeti is like a reimagined childhood for me and any other young Swazi girl. She's a lot braver, a lot kinder. She's more daring to love than most of us have ever been willing to. So, yeah, it's just reimagining a childhood that I can relate to.
Okay. And then the second book,
Yeah,
I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Temansele.
Temansele, that's it. Ah, I had it right as well. I should have
Yeah,
pronounced it.
no, you really like you were very close. So Temansele making the team. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that in the author world, but she's my favorite. Don't tell anyone I say that. She's my favorite because I really had a great time writing her.
Yeah.
I think there's a level of confidence that you get from publishing your very first book. So when you get your second one, you're like, I'm a writer. I got this. I'm a writer. The inspiration for Temansele, she's a lot more grown than Nyeti, so like PG 25. But it's like a dating, love, and sex story that we don't have in Swaziland,
Okay.
like in record. So I just wanted to offer like a romance that is relatable. Because we can't go to Paris. We don't know anything about the busy streets of Johannesburg, but we do know about the streets of Mbabane. So why not have a love story set there?
Brilliant. I love that. And for those that don't know, Mbabane is the capital of Swaziland. Eswatini now as
Yeah.
well, isn't it? So if
Yes,
you can't
yes,
find it on the map
Eswatini.
as Swaziland.
We're living up.
Moving on up in the world.
Yeah.
In terms of as a young black girl
Yeah.
growing up, what was your inspiration for writing? What got you into, okay, this is my writing space. I need to write something that is an account of myself and the experiences that I'm going
Mhm.
through.
Okay. I would say that I've always been more of a loner, which is crazy because I'm from a polygamous family, so there's a lot of us.
Yeah.
But I somehow managed to carve out a long time. I play alone, really just my head is my playground ever since I was a child. And so it was more of an escape. Hence, I never really released anything until last year because it was more of just me trying to empty all the thoughts in the business upstairs.
Yeah.
And then the more that I grew up, I realized that there really shouldn't be a reason as to why I can't attempt to create books that are going to give the future young Nautilis something to escape to, something to focus on, something to keep you artistically intrigued and stimulated. So it was more of an escape, and I'm like, let me just create that escape now for the young
Okay.
girls. Yeah,
Brilliant. So, I mean, I found my escape through sports. So I
yeah,
guess I kind of relate to that a little bit that
yeah.
sometimes as
What sports do you
children,
play?
Well, I currently play American football, but when I was younger, I
Okay.
used to do a lot of sprinting. I played a bit of cricket, not
Mm.
so much rugby. I had an injury in rugby, and my mom said stop playing rugby, and then I stopped. So,
It's just like, no.
but
Dead.
yeah, generally I used to do
Yeah.
sprinting, and now I play American football. Play is a very strong word because I think my body is very, very tired now. But
You participate.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm just part of
You
the group.
participate. Yeah, but that's good. That's good. I never really got into sports like that.
So I understand that this is how sort of I relate, because then you took it into writing, and writing became your
Yeah.
outlet for everything. What challenges have you faced as a young publisher in this space when you're trying to get your
Mm,
books out there, you're trying to publish your books? What
yeah.
what challenges are you facing out there, trying to still tell the stories that, one, have not been really heard of
Mm,
within the space?
yeah.
Secondly, you are trying to, you know, journey into this unknown world of publishers having their own sort of set guidelines and rules of what they desire and want.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's challenges galore. But during this whole process, Brian, I really try to be intentional in terms of not letting the challenges within the environment that I was publishing my book in kind of dictate
Yeah,
how I experienced publishing my book, because it was a joyous thing for me to be able to do. But that doesn't negate the fact that the challenges are there.
yeah,
I think I've said this before on another public platform, like locally, information, biggest challenge.
yeah,
From lack of information to just not centralized information. There's really not a place that you can go and be like, have your questions answered. So I've got a story. How do I go about writing? How do I go about publishing? Traditional publishing, online publishing. What is an ISBN? Like there's so many. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it, and it's discouraging for creatives because you want to just write and do the
yeah.
flowing stuff, but there's like legal frameworks put into place that you need to learn. So that for me, information. But more than anything, the writing of the story with Nyeti being, I would say, the first book of its kind, because it's there hasn't been a book that has a queer character
Yeah,
in it, in fiction or
yeah.
otherwise, that I know of in the country. But the funny part about that is the challenge came after I published the book, because believe it or not, I wrote the book, but that didn't click. That was something to fuss about until after people read the book, because to me I wasn't telling that story. That just happened to be a part of who she is. She's just as gay as she is black. I wasn't trying to have a coming out story. So, but I kind of see now that my approach in terms of promotion and talking about the book is going to have to be a little bit different. But yeah, finance and information are the two biggest challenges that I would say I face personally, more than actually telling the story, because I'm crazy, so I will tell the story regardless of how controversial it is.
Information and finances are the things that a lot of writers in Africa sort of generally struggle with. But aside from that, what would you like to see generally in African literature? What would you improve? What would you like to see changing within Africa when it comes to literature writing and just literature in general?
Okay, I would say that for me, it's a bit of an old dog's game, shall I say, not to be ageist or anything, but I feel like a lot of the older authors become gatekeepers instead of door openers. So you find that even if you are directed towards somebody to ask questions as a young writer, chances of you getting really clear answers or actual assistance are very slim, in my experience, anyways. I've spoken to other young aspiring writers, and they pretty much have the same issue. I think I do understand that it comes from a place of trying to preserve the industry so that it doesn't become oh, by the way, my twerking career failed. Now I'm going to try this one thing. But I would definitely say that to me is just recognizing that in terms of storytelling, there should be no limit. There should be no limit in terms of how you tell your story. There should be no limit in terms of how you go about publishing your book. There should be no limit. I didn't have a book signing, and I like to blame it on COVID, but not really. I just personally, I just personally don't see the need to do that. And I think people still feel like, are you really published if you haven't really done the song and dance and the party?
Little ritual.
Yeah, like, are you really published? And I have no desire to have any kind of like launch or public readings or anything. I so it's a lot of those, like just trying to keep it to tradition, but I feel like it's limiting. Just let us tell the stories that we want to tell, as controversial as we want to tell them, as modern as we want to tell them. Let us control our own art. Let it evolve. Yeah. So for me, that would be the one thing in terms of African literature. And two, well, this, yeah, it's a minor two. For me, it's just a feeling of, there's a lot of romantic notions that we have about the past, like just constantly being compared to authors from like the 50 decades ago.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of harmful. Yeah, I think it's kind of harmful. Of course, somebody who wrote a book 50 years ago, I don't have anything in common with that person. It's a different time. It's a different Africa. It's a different Eswatini. So just don't be so rigid. That would be my number one. Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, aside from the writing, you also have a podcast. Tell us about your podcast. What's your podcast about? What do you talk about? Do you try and attack the most uncomfortable issues within our community?
Yes. So the podcast is called According to Nono. Just to say that it's according to me. So just so I'm clear that I'm not trying to write the rules for anybody else, according to me. The podcast is really, as you saw my smile, it's one of the things that I just decided to do one day, and felt like I like having conversations. I like starting conversations, and I felt like I would like a platform where I can sort of control or pick what I want to talk to, what I want to talk about, and who I want to talk to. Because I don't want to go on. I've got a lot of requests to go on other people's platforms, and normally I don't do that. I'm very choosy because again, it's the whole thing of feeling like I don't want to be caged, and so I was like, I'm gonna have this platform where people are gonna be free to talk. So the podcast discusses a lot of social issues, challenges, anything from feminism, gender-based violence, dating, sex, money, all of that. All of that. And I have guests come on who, no, most of the time I bring people on who have a different perspective from mine.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, come on, I want to learn something from you. You can learn something from me, and then whoever's listening can learn something from the two of us.
It's an exchange of information, I call it. Most people like to get emotional and argue about things, but I just say, listen, state your facts, I state my facts, I state my reality, you state your reality. Then from there, we'll build a common level of understanding. So yeah, we've gone kind of full circle now. Within your book, you have a queer character, which you also like to say was a challenge when people started reading that book. Within your podcast, you also talk about civil rights for a lot of people within our community. Why do you think Africa is not ready to embrace the different genders, sexes that we have within the community at the moment?
I think, unfortunately, it becomes I think we've also have gone full circle as a people. I think would like to believe that we've evolved somewhat to a point where, as Africans, we've gone past oppression. But the truth of the matter is, human instinct says that if I feel like I'm inferior than person A, then I have to find person B to make myself feel like I'm superior to. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's a point of, no matter how much segregation and all of that, we've really done a lot of progress.
Yeah.
financially, as a people, we are not where we thought we would be. Human rights, we are not where we thought we would be. Development, we are not where we thought we would be. And that's not a good or comfortable place to be. And somebody has to pay for the lack of progress that we've had. So it's either women, because unfortunately, uh, the way the law is set up culturally and just legally, as a woman, you are somehow seen as subhuman. So if I can't do it to the white man or the rich man, then I have this woman next to me, and the Bible says she has to listen to me. The law says that she's basically half of what I am. So I have somebody that I can feel like, even though I can't beat him, but I can sure as hell beat her. And I feel like now we have men, women, and then we have marginalized populations. So I feel that's where the LGBTI community comes in. It's like women are now standing up and saying we have a voice, and it's now somehow crazy that, oh, I can't just own a woman, I can't just pay 2 cows and it's my property. So now it becomes a thing of who else is the weakest link, and it's the kids and it's the LGBTI community, because I mean, the thought process says you are as low as human beings can get. So surely you were made to be some sort of doormat. And I think if we approach it like that and investigate it internally like that, we would realize that what is it that we get from doing that to either women or people from marginalized communities? What is that sense of surge and adrenaline and power that you get when you do something homophobic or you do something sexist? What exactly does it touch in you? There's got to be something in you that makes you want to be the kind of person, instead of looking at it from the outside picture of, oh, this is something that came with the European man, and this is how long are we going to be able to hide behind the thumb of oppression? It's 2021.
And this is what I was going to get at, that someone then will come to you and say, this isn't part of our culture. We never had this before. This is the first time that this is happening. Some even going to say animals are not like this. How do you then navigate a space of people with that sort of thought process, that sort of mentality?
I think for me, when I hear things like that from people, it immediately lets me know that A, you have never been to the wild or been to a zoo or actually seen animals. Otherwise, you would otherwise you would know that heterosexuality is not, or not all animals are heterosexual. That's not how nature works. And also, two, it lets me know that you haven't really read a history book, because then you'd also know that historically this has always been there. So it's that point where you have to decide: do I engage this person who is clearly ill-informed, um, or do I save my sanity? And I have been in the LGBT advocacy space. So I was in the team that organized the very first gay pride in the country. So that was a crazy experience. Like, it's like, so you don't just want to be gay indoors. Now you want to march the streets of our capital city with rainbow flags. What? During the day, in front of cameras. So that was like an out of body experience where people couldn't understand the audacity of you. How dare you? So it's just one of those things where, unfortunately for me, fortunately and unfortunately, I am the kind of person who thinks, what are people gonna say, too late into the game. So I was, which hence it's why I was really just like, oh, here's a book about a beautiful young woman growing, and then people were like, wait, did you see that? I'm like, oh yeah, oh, by the way, she's gay, but just just go ahead and read the book. So I think it does really require for you to. It takes a lot of work. Your skin really needs to be thick, and three, protect your sanity for most of it. Protect your sanity for most. just express who you are, if it's in writing, if it's in how you dress, how you speak, and just know that this is the only life that you have. So if you are choosing to live it guided by what other people are going to say, that's your choice. You are grown, you can do that, but it really does defeat the purpose of having you here.
Thank you ever so much. Now, as always, I'll drop everything on the description box. Her books, I will drop your podcast, everything will be in the description. And those that are interested in purchasing your book, those that are interested in following your podcast will be able to click on and follow. And as always, I encourage people, click on it, follow the podcast, listen to our podcast, buy the books, and let's just spread Africa to the world. This is what this is all about. Thank you very much, Notsile.
Thank you so much, Brian. Lovely meeting you. And this is an awesome platform. So I'm great to be here.
Thank you very much. We're growing slowly but surely. Guys, as always, thank you very much for joining me. This is Indaba, the African debate. They say protect your sanity. Let's just do that. Thank you very much.